Hi, my name is JoAnne Harris. I'm a composer, and I'd like to invite you to support a new work for wind band and electronics. In 2019, Dr. Erik Leung at Oregon State University commissioned me for a piece. In the wake of the pandemic, we put the project on pause, and when we were ready to pick it back up again, I wanted to reflect on the time spent in that pause. I wanted to see if maybe we could create something cathartic to speak about how our lives changed during COVID-19. I read an article in the New York Times about animal behavior during this time of unprecedented human inactivity. Particularly, I was drawn to the research of Dr. Michelle Fournet, a bioacoustician whose life's work is listening to humpback whale calls. Her hypothesis is that when humans stopped creating noise in the ocean, humpback whales were able to communicate with more nuance and depth of expression.
So animals respond to noise in very similar ways to how humans respond to noise. So if you were at a really loud concert, for example, and you were there with your best friend, that wouldn't be a good time to tell her a secret. That might be a good time to sort of scream across the room, like, I think I'm ready to go now. And she might give you 2 thumbs up, and then you guys would leave the venue. But if you were sitting with your best friend on a couch at 3 o'clock in the morning, having a cup of tea, the quality of the conversation would be different. That might be a time to pass along long, complex, creative strings of conversation. You might give her more information because there's more acoustic space to have that conversation. So for humans, when it's noisy, we adjust our vocal behavior in a couple ways. We call louder, we call less, and sometimes we'll change the pitch. We'll talk a little bit higher so that you can hear somebody better. Whales, it appears, do the same thing. When their environment gets noisy, they call louder, they call less. And we don't know yet whether they adjust their pitch, but what the project that we're doing now is figuring out is similar to us. Do they change how much information that they're exchanging with their buddies? Do they change how they're talking to each other in a quiet ocean versus a noisy one?
Dr. Fournet collected hundreds of hours of humpback calls from Southeast Alaska during lockdown. I am using these recordings to create the electronic portion of the piece. She and I are focused on highlighting whale calls as opposed to whale song because calls are a communication function that include both female humpbacks and calves.
I'm interested in equity, and I'm interested in shifting the culture of science so that we understand multiple perspectives, both multiple human perspectives and also multiple animal perspectives, which includes wanting to listen to male whales and to female whales. And this is a very new field of study. It's really only been in the past 10 or 15 years that we've put a dedicated effort into understanding this sort of foundational language of communication instead of this very complex form of communication. And what makes humpbacks such a fascinating study species is that they span that whole range, from something which is you're born with and which is shared by all animals worldwide to something which is culturally transmitted and changes very quickly. So it makes for a really dynamic acoustic listening experience, but it means that we get the opportunity to learn about a language that is as complex or possibly more complex than our own human language.
Collaborating with Dr. Fournet is tremendously exciting, broadly because we both share a passion for conversations where science and art meet. Ecologically speaking, I find it urgent and imperative to keep at the forefront of social consciousness and awareness about how human behavior impacts the natural world around us. And personally, from the heart of a storyteller, I find it really engaging to not only ponder how whale calls might have changed during this time, but how human communication might have changed. Did we speak to each other with more nuance, with more clarity, with more friction? Above all, in that communication, did we learn something new about ourselves? Thank you for considering supporting our work, and I look forward to seeing you or meeting you sometime very soon.